he was silenced. He was executed. He was he was beaten. He was beaten into submitting.
Let me say a little, and you'll see that.
We've got a great guest with us here today. We've got actually two great guests with us today. We've got the phenomenal artist, Marcy Morris, and you've got a guest there next to you, Marcy. Who do you have there with you?
Alexander is with us today. I'm going to bring him a little
Bring
closer.
Marcy, I was out there with you today, and I have to tell you, that is a phenomenal piece of work. Absolutely phenomenal piece of work. Steve, back in October 2022, when we started doing the work around the Alexander McClay Williams project, trying to get the courthouse named after him, I reached out to Marcy Morris. I had an idea about the picture that I had seen, and I'm gonna share the screen in a moment. The picture that we've seen so many times of Alexander McClay Williams, and let me go ahead and do it now. And I was so tired of seeing this same picture of this young man, this boy. He had to look a different way at some point in his life. He didn't always look like this. So I called up Marcy and I said, "Hey, Marcy, what do you think of doing a reimagined version of Alexander McClay Williams? Show us what he might look like on any other day. On any other day besides sitting here with," this is District Attorney, Delaware County District Attorney. His name was William McCarter. William McCarter was his name. And as we pointed out, Marcy, that is an ice pick in the hand of District Attorney William McCarter. And this is what we call a photo op. It's a staged photo op where you sit the criminal down in front of a camera, you take a picture, and you show him the weapon that he used. And so when I reached out to you, Marcy, you said, "Hey, let me give this some thought. Let me see what I come up with." And what you came up with, I keep saying phenomenal, is back there behind you. I had a chance to see it up close and personal today. Steve, we've talked, you and I have talked a lot about Alexander McClay Williams. And I remember once you saying there's something about his name that makes you want to know more, makes you want to engage this situation. Before Marcy gets into her explanation, Steve, I'm curious, when you see the picture here from 1930, 1931, what comes to mind for you when you look at that picture, Steve?
There's just a depression about it. Unfortunately, I didn't see the picture until I knew a lot about Alexander and his case. So I had preconceived thoughts and ideas. But I think it would be a more honest observation if you were seeing this picture without knowing all of what I knew by then. So I don't know if I can give an honest observation. Because I'm already coming into viewing it depressed about the entire situation.
And so, Marcy, when you came into this, you and I talked today for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And you talked about not just putting the paintbrush into the paint and going to the canvas. You talked about what you had to do, almost who you had to become to do this painting, to actually embrace this. And I have to tell you, as I was listening to you talk about it today, Marcy, I really hadn't given it a whole lot of thought that this would require a depth of you as an artist that a lot of people wouldn't appreciate. Talk to us some about, kind of what you were going through as you were seeing him come to life on your canvas.
Sure. So, when I first saw the picture of Alexander, um, we had a conversation where I thought that I didn't, I didn't know the whole story yet, and I thought that what was in his hand was like a recorder or like a almost like a walkie-talkie thing, but
Hmm.
like, I didn't realize that was an ice pick in his hand. It's because I didn't know the extent of the story yet. Okay. Or if, and so it brought it's chilling what Alexander went through. I projected what my son at the age of 16 would be going through as a Black boy, as my son is. And so I, as a mom, knowing what like what any mother going through when her son is falsely accused of murdering and stabbing a woman repeatedly, the more details I learned and the more I looked at Alexander's photo, the emotions arise because as you had shared, you're like, you wanted an imagined portrait. What could his expression been before this time? Or if what he may have said. And so I'll explain more about the choices that I made in the portrait, but just imagining him as sharing his innocence, and he was silenced, he was executed, he was beaten, he was beaten into submitting to a false a false
Confession.
confession.
Hmm. So let's talk about some of those choices. I don't know what we can do to get him a little bit closer,
Sure.
because I think there's some things that you pointed out to me today that are so important about uh, about the painting, the things that you decided to keep. And anybody who's looking at this right now can see, the similarity. You've got him wearing overalls. You've got him with the shirt kind of looks the same. So talk some, Marcy, about, let's start with his mouth. The mouth in your painting,
Yeah.
as opposed to the mouth that we see in this mug shot.
Mhm. So it chose to have his mouth open um, to speak the truth. Imagining that he had the freedom to speak the truth. And now we are sharing a story to speak his truth so that he has the last word in history. That is why that's why I have the mouth open. And I remember Ulysses, I remember you suggesting, can you create the portrait with a smile? And I remember trying to paint the smile on him, and it just didn't feel, I couldn't get there with a smile because it wasn't a smile.
Hmm.
Wasn't a smile. It was him telling the truth, because there isn't a, we have the joy that that he was exonerated, but I couldn't, I felt that this felt more aligned with
Hmm.
what I
Yeah.
imagined.
Yeah.
The other part of creating his portrait, the color, I mean, going from black and white to color,
Hmm.
I don't have color reference, but I know how to work with colors, and I wanted to bring the color, the full color to life,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we're not in black, and we don't live in black and white pictures.
Mm.
We're all fully colorful. If we all saw it that way, we are all full of color.
You know, Marcy, as you're talking about what's in your head as a painter, I liken it to how an actor approaches a role. You get so glued to like that role's personality, and if you do it well, you can't really break out of it. And in this case, you know, you're doing a portrait of someone who's not, you know, not in a happy way, and it's like, well, can I put a smile on that?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Me and Steve here, we're at Miss Susie's house. This is a building community special. Steve, we're about to make the presentation. Okay.